Eleanor Ainsworth's world was shattered when tragedy left her orphaned, forcing her into the cold care of Julian Thorne, the ruthless oil baron who trusted no one. Their every encounter was a storm of suspicion and sparks, until one stolen kiss broke through his iron defenses. For one fleeting moment, it seemed love might win. But just as their hearts began to find each other, a cruel deception tore them apart. A forged letter, a lie Eleanor could not defend against, turned Julian's fragile trust into icy fury. The man who had kissed her as though he would never let her go, cast her out as if she meant nothing at all. Now, as the dust settles, Eleanor must face the cruelest truth of all. Love may have found her, only to destroy her. If you missed the beginning, watch part 1 in the link pinned in the comments. The study was cloaked in shadow, the gas lamps burning low. On Julian's desk lay the letter, her handwriting, her name, her supposed betrayal. Eleanor's breath caught when she saw it, her heart pounding with disbelief. The ink looked like hers, the curve of every letter a cruel imitation. "Julian!" Her voice was barely a whisper, still raw with the memory of his lips on hers only nights before. "You must believe me. That letter isn't mine. I was coming to tell you the truth. Blackwood lied. My cousin in Boston, he sent proof. Blackwood and my grandfather were partners, nothing more." But Julian's face, it was stone. No flicker of warmth, no trace of the man who had once looked at her beneath the stars. His eyes were shards of ice. "How convenient," he said, each word cutting like steel. "A new tale, just when I discover your rendezvous. Do you take me for a fool?" The memory of his mouth pressed to hers, twisted like a knife in her chest. "I never met him. I never wrote this." Tears blurred her vision. "Julian, that night on the terrace, it meant everything to me. You meant..." "Enough!" his voice thundered, shaking her to silence. He rose, the sheer force of his presence filling the room. "I was a fool to think you were different, to think you were anything but another lie dressed in innocence." Her knees weakened under the weight of his fury. She had never seen him like this, so cold, so final. The kiss that had awakened her heart was nothing to him now but evidence of his own blindness. "I didn't betray you," she whispered, the words breaking in her throat. Julian's hand swept to the door, his voice low and merciless. "You'll be gone by morning. Your things will be sent to the station. You'll have no further contact with my mother or me." And then he turned his back, just as he had turned his heart. Eleanor stood frozen, her tears falling soundlessly, every drop burning like fire on her cheeks. She wanted to scream, to beg him to look at her the way he had on the terrace, but his shoulders were rigid, his silence unbreakable. At last, she gathered the fragments of her dignity, lifted her chin, and walked from the room. The sound of the door closing behind her was final, like the snapping of a thread. The man who had kissed her as though he would never let her go had just thrown her away. Eleanor left the study on unsteady legs, her vision blurred with tears. In her room she began to pack, each dress folded with trembling hands, each ribbon tied as though it were the knot sealing her fate. By morning she would be gone. She told herself this over and over, as if saying it might make the ache in her chest bearable. She carried her small trunk into the corridor, her bonnet in hand, when a soft voice stopped her. "Going somewhere, dear?" Mrs. Thorne stood by the banister, her face pale, but her eyes sharp with quiet knowing. Eleanor froze, her throat closing. I was only stepping out," she whispered. The older woman studied her, then shook her head ever so slightly. "You're not going to listen to my son so easily, are you? He can be cruel when his pride is wounded, but I know what I've seen in his eyes when he looks at you." Eleanor's heart twisted. She lowered her gaze, clutching the handle of her trunk until her knuckles burned. "He has made himself clear, Mrs. Thorne. I have no place here. Not anymore." Something in the quiet dignity of those words struck harder than a cry ever could. Mrs. Thorne swayed where she stood, her hand clutching at the banister, her lips parting in a soundless gasp. "Mrs. Thorne?" Eleanor dropped the trunk, rushing forward just as the older woman's knees buckled. "Mother!" Julian's voice rang from the hall as he appeared, his face draining of color. Together, Eleanor and Julian caught her before she crumpled to the ground. Her body was frighteningly light, frighteningly still. "Help me lift her," Eleanor commanded, her voice sharp, steady. Julian obeyed, his hands trembling as they carried his mother upstairs. Within minutes, a servant was dispatched for the doctor. When he arrived, his verdict was grim. Mrs. Thorne's heart was too fragile, the shock too much. She would need rest, quiet, and careful tending if she were to recover. Eleanor stationed herself at the bedside without hesitation, cool cloths ready, her voice gentle as she soothed the woman who had shown her kindness. Julian lingered in the doorway, stricken with guilt. His mother's collapse was a mirror of his own folly, and the woman he had cast out sat steadfast at her side, refusing even to glance his way. From that moment, Eleanor stayed. Not for him, never for him. She stayed because Mrs. Thorne needed her, and Julian knew it. The first in the house once, the knowledge hollowed him out, driving him slowly, painfully mad. The days that followed blurred into quiet vigilance. Eleanor rarely left Mrs. Thorne's room, sleeping in a chair at her bedside, rising only to fetch water or whisper instructions to the servants. Her hands moved with tireless care, smoothing blankets, pressing cool cloths, coaxing sips of broth past weakened lips. Julian watched her like a man starved. Every gesture of tenderness toward his mother was a reminder of what he had thrown away. When Eleanor finally crossed paths with him in the corridor, she inclined her head with the politeness of a stranger. No warmth, no reproach, simply nothing. It was unbearable. One evening, he stood waiting as she left his mother's room. His voice was low, almost hesitant. "Would you dine with me tonight?" For the briefest moment, her eyes flickered. Surprise, maybe memory, before she nodded once. "If you wish." He sat at the long table beneath the glow of the chandeliers, candles guttering low, a meal untouched before him. He waited, his hand tightening around his wineglass, telling himself she would come. But the hours dragged, and she never appeared. When at last he went to her room, he found her seated by the window, lamplight soft against her cheek. A book rested in her lap. "I waited," he said, the words rough, fraying at the edges. She lifted her gaze, calm as still water. "Oh, I forgot." 2 words, spoken with gentle finality. Another morning, he found her in the stables, her mare saddled. "I thought I might ride with you," he offered, trying for lightness, though his throat was tight. Her gaze lingered on him, unreadable. Slowly, she removed her gloves and handed the reins back to a stable boy. "I've changed my mind." She brushed past him, skirts whispering against his arm, leaving him alone with the echo of her absence. Each dismissal was soft, never cruel, yet it cut deeper than any accusation. She was present in the house, but she had withdrawn from him entirely. Her love, once given freely, was locked away where he could not reach it. And Julian, a man accustomed to power, to bending the world to his will, found himself powerless. At last, one evening, he found her in the drawing room, firelight flickering across her pale face. She did not rise when he entered, did not even lower her embroidery. "Eleanor," he said, his voice taut with desperation, "are you avoiding me?" Her needles stilled, but she did not look at him. "Why would I need to avoid you, Mr. Thorne?" Soft, polite, merciless. Julian's chest tightened until he could hardly breathe. She was close enough to touch, yet farther away than she had ever been. And he knew with a clarity that terrified him. He could lose her, not to lies or to another man, but to her silence. Days passed in hushed tones and dimly lit rooms. Slowly, Mrs. Thorne's color returned, the frail line of her breath strengthening until her eyes fluttered open again. Relief swept through the household, but Eleanor did not allow herself rest. She remained at the bedside, steady and composed, until the doctor declared the danger had passed. That night, when Mrs. Thorne finally slept peacefully, Eleanor slipped into her room and pulled her trunk from the corner once more. She folded her dresses with calm, precise hands, her heart steady in its resolve. She had stayed because the old woman needed her. That duty was finished. She would not stay for him. Julian found her as the sun dipped below the horizon, her chamber door ajar, the sight of her packing slicing through him like a blade. "You're leaving," he said. The words rough, broken. Eleanor did not look up. "Mrs. Thorne is out of danger. There is nothing to keep me here." Julian's composure shattered. He crossed the room in 2 strides, his hand braced against the trunk as if he could stop her with sheer will. "I was wrong. Blind, a fool. I let my mistrust destroy the only good thing that's ever entered this house. I don't deserve your forgiveness, God knows I don't, but I can't let you walk out that door." Eleanor's chest rose with a trembling breath, but she did not move. "And what am I to believe, Julian? That the man who called me a liar one day suddenly finds me worth begging for the next?" His jaw tightened, his voice breaking into raw honesty. "Believe this. That I would burn this house to the ground before I let it stand without you in it. That every hour you've ignored me has been worse than any punishment I've known. That I love you, Eleanor. I love you, and I cannot lose you." Her lips parted, but no sound came. The words she had once ached to hear now left her trembling, afraid to trust them. Julian sank to his knees before her, his hand reaching for hers, his voice low and hoarse. "Stay. Not for my mother, not for duty, for me. Give me the chance to prove I can be the man you believed I could be." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with the echo of all that had been broken between them. Eleanor's hand hovered above his, her heart caught between longing and the memory of betrayal. She could feel the weight of his touch before she even gave it. And then she drew in a breath, torn between love and self-preservation. The candlelight flickered, the moment suspended like a held breath. Would she stay or walk away? The house grew quieter after that night. Eleanor's decision hung heavy in the halls. She had stayed only for Mrs. Thorne. And now that the woman was out of danger, nothing bound her there. She moved with calm precision, her trunk once again at the ready. Julian watched her like a man sentenced. Every step she took toward the door tearing him open. He had begged. He had stripped himself bare, and she had still turned away. And yet, he could not blame her. On the morning she was to depart, Mrs. Thorne clutched Eleanor's hand with frail strength, whispering, "You have been more than I deserved, dear heart. Do not let my son's pride steal the kindness in yours." Eleanor kissed her cheek, tears burning her eyes, then rose. She did not look at Julian as she crossed the threshold. He followed her only as far as the steps. Julian's voice had broken the silence earlier, low and careful. "When you leave, where will you go, Eleanor?" It was a question asked with concern, but also with something else, a thread of fear. Eleanor lifted her chin, pride stiffening her spine. "I will go to Boston, to my cousin." The words rang with certainty, but the truth pressed heavy beneath them. She had never thought beyond this moment, beyond the hurt of staying. Deep down she knew her cousin had no place for her. Still, she could not let him see that, not after everything. Julian studied her, his jaw tight, but he did not challenge her answer. Instead, he said softly, "Then let me take you to the train station." Her heart lurched. Part of her wanted to accept, to cling to the protection in his voice, but she shook her head. "No, I'll go alone." And so she passed him in the corridor, her steps steady, her gaze fixed ahead. She didn't glance at him, didn't falter, not even when the weight of his presence burned against her back. She walked through the same gate she had once entered with hope, and when the manor was behind her, the pride that held her shoulders straight dissolved. Tears welled and spilled, running down her cheeks in helpless waves. Not tears of romance, not yet. Tears of a woman with nowhere to go, her heart shattered, her future uncertain. Then, the sharp mechanical growl of an engine broke through the silence. Eleanor froze, her breath catching as a gleaming locomobile roared up the lane, dust curling in its wake. It slowed as it drew beside her, then braked hard, stopping just ahead. Julian swung down from the driver's seat, his coat billowing, his eyes fixed on her with a desperation that rooted her to the spot. "Eleanor," he said, his voice rough, his hands already reaching for the trunk at her side. She pulled back, startled, clutching it tighter. He met her resistance with a wry, broken smile. "Please, let me take you back." She shook her head, choking on her tears. He tried again, softer this time, almost teasing. "Your pride is worse than mine ever was." The absurdity of it, the sudden warmth in his voice, cracked her composure. A laugh slipped through her tears, fragile, unsteady, but real. She pressed a hand to her face, shaking her head, caught between fury and helpless affection. Julian stepped closer, still holding the trunk as if he would carry her burden whether she let him or not. "Come back with me, Eleanor. Just come back." Eleanor stood frozen, her hand pressed to her face, her tears betraying the walls she'd tried to hold. She wanted to tell him no, to wrench the trunk from his grasp and keep walking. But her strength was gone, worn thin by heartbreak, pride, and longing. Julian's grip on the trunk softened, but he didn't let go. His voice dropped, low and ragged. "Don't punish yourself because of me. If you walk away now, you'll have nowhere to go, and I'll never forgive myself for letting you suffer because of my own pride. Let me make this right, Eleanor. Please." The word please cracked something inside her. He had once hurled commands, his cold voice slicing her heart in two. Now he stood before her stripped bare, his wealth, his power, his pride, all of it meaningless compared to the chance of losing her. Slowly, Eleanor lowered her hand from her face. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "You don't make it easy to forgive you." Julian's answering smile was faint, trembling at the edges. "Then give me a lifetime to try." Her breath hitched, the ache of it too much to hold back. She let go of the trunk, her fingers brushing his as she surrendered it to him. The simple touch made her knees weaken, and she hated how much she needed it, needed him. He took the trunk in one hand, her trembling fingers in the other. "Come home," he murmured. And though her heart still bore the bruises of betrayal, Eleanor let him lead her back through the gate, her tears still wet on her cheeks. This time, they weren't the tears of a woman abandoned. They were the tears of a woman daring and hoping she had made the right decision.
Your eyes are a storm I can't walk through. Every step closer cuts me in two.
You speak in truths I don't wanna hear, but I'm drawn to the sound even when it's fear.
Your silence is louder than shouting could be. You build your walls high, but they still call to me.
Every cold glance burns hotter than fire.
I hate what you are, but you're all I desire. I hate to love you, and I love to hate. Every word we trade feels like twisting fate. We're poison and honey in the same breath we take. I hate to love you, but I can't escape.
Your touch is a wound I keep tracing again.
A sweet kind of war I'll never win.
You pull me in close, then you push me away.
But my heart still leans where my mind says stay.
Your voice is a tether I can't cut clean.
You haunt every shadow, every dream.
I swear I won't fall, but the ground disappears
when I'm caught in the pull of your gravity. I hate to love you, and I love to hate. Every word we trade feels like twisting fate. We're poison and honey in the same breath we take. I hate to love you, but I can't escape. You call me a liar, I call you a thief.
Stealing my trust, stealing my peace.
But the moment you're gone, I'm lost in the dark,
Hunting for pieces of your cruel, kind heart.
your shadow walks beside me unseen. I curse your name, but you're stitched in my seams.
I'm chained to the truth, I can't let go.
That the fire I feel is the one I know.
If love was a sin, we'd be saints in disguise.
If hate was salvation, we'd both be divine.
But we're caught in between, where the lines
all blur, where I'm burning for you, though my hands still hurt. Every fight we fought just fans the flame, and every betrayal just sharpens your name.
we've broken each other.
We've bled, we've lied, but somehow you're still the place I hide. So damn the truth and damn the cost. I'll find you again, no matter what's lost.
We're war and we're peace, we're shadow and light.
And I'll hate to love you for the rest of my life. I hate to love you, and I love to hate. Every word we trade feels like twisting fate. We're poison and honey in the same breath we take. I hate to love you, but I can't escape. Your eyes are a storm I can't walk through, and I drown 1,000 times for you.